Well, who do we have left? Mike LeBar.
Michael Barr is unable to attend. He sent in a note this morning.
Okay, so that means we can get started, I think.
Yep.
Well, except for Bob just left.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we should wait for him to come back.
Why don't you give him a minute? We have,
Yeah.
I don't think we have a very full agenda,
No, it's pretty quiet.
so it should take us well past 10 o'clock.
Also, let's start at 9:30. No.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Well, actually,
I found meetings take the time allotted to them
There he is.
to fill. Whether you have a full agenda or not, you use the same amount of
You
time.
know, we love to talk.
really, I hadn't noticed that.
Yeah.
I haven't heard that
We love
Yep.
to talk.
because I stopped listening.
And
Yeah. Thanks, girl.
well, and if you notice, I like try to cut people off when it
Yeah.
gets too long.
You hear that, Michael?
Somebody wants to run a stopwatch while I'm doing my presentation.
I know. Now, don't be nervous, Michael. We all know.
This is not usually my biggest issue, but thank you.
All right. I say we get started. Are we online and everything at this point?
Let's get the high sign from IT.
Yeah.
He came in. Oh,
We're on.
Okay, we're on.
all right, we're live.
Perfect.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order of the Board of Operations Performance Committee. Today is Monday, October the 13th. I'd like to begin with public comments. Oh, wait, let's take roll call first. Jeanette, thank you.
City of Carmel by the Sea,
Here.
City of Gonzales.
Here.
City of King.
He's absent.
City of Marina,
Here.
City of Pacific Grove,
Here.
City of Salinas,
Here.
and we have a forum.
Very good. Thank you so much. Okay, moving on. Public comments on matters not on the agenda. Members of the public may address the committee on any matter related to the jurisdiction of MST, but not on the agenda. There's a time limit of not more than 3 minutes for each speaker. The committee will take no action or respond immediately to any public comments presented, but may choose to follow up at a later time, either individually through staff or on a subsequent agenda. Is there anyone from the public that would like to address the committee at this time? Seeing no one in chambers, is there anyone online? Seeing none, then I will close the public comment and move on to the consent agenda. I'd like to ask if everyone had an opportunity to look at the minutes from June. I know it's been a while, hasn't it?
Mhm.
Is there anyone that would like to make a comment or
Motion to approve.
motion?
Second.
Okay, motion by Tony, second by Mr. Emilio. All those in favor?
Nice.
Aye. Oppose? None. Moving on. Receive minutes from Safety Committee meeting on July 17th, 2025.
You just approved it.
I approved everything, that's right. Okay, moving on. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, moving on to the action items. For one, review of operations performance, and that would be Mr. Sidor.
Thank you, Chair of the committee, the Vice Chair. So just some interesting things to note that are in the General Manager's report. We continue to have month after month of growth of ridership. I think I announced last month that in the city of Salinas, we're actually exceeded pre-COVID levels of ridership. We're at 108%. So it's back and continuing to grow, which we'll have some future discussions, perhaps in closed session, about the need for more facilities to support that future growth in the city of Salinas in particular. One thing I thought was interesting, not a whole lot we can talk about, not a whole lot we can do about it, but it's in the board report, the on-time passenger departures. When you look at August is car week. And if you're wondering, we kind of all know that car week impacts traffic, but you can almost look at our buses as probes that are out there all day long reporting back their on-time performance. And if you look at our line 20 that runs down Highway 1, runs between Salinas and Monterey, but stays a lot of time between Marina and Sand City, the Highway 1, and the corridor is most affected by that. In July, we had 90% on-time performance for in August, car week, 76%
That's amazing.
on-time performance. The Jazz buses were close to 90%, 89.6% was down to 81% in August. So you can see that another one would be, I think, look at the 5, which runs between Monterey and Carmel in July. 94.2% on-time performance. In August, 82.1% performance. So significant degradation. Newsflash, the month of car week creates traffic. But here's a quantitative empirical way of looking at it. That's actual data, and you can see the impact for what it's worth. That's there. Also in your report, if you go to page 62 of the monthly report, the open positions, you can see that we're continuing to knock it out of the park. It wasn't too long ago that we were really struggling to get drivers. Now we have more drivers than we actually have budgeted, and I've approved of that because you never know when we're going to hit that next drought, and we have a lot of drivers who are entering that age of retirement, and they'll just give us very short notice and say, I'm retiring. So we have about an extra 5 drivers right now on the books. Another class starting up in just another week, another class of drivers. So that's been great. We've been able to track them as well. There's some articles attached to the monthly report that we had some concerns with this federal shutdown about some funds disappearing. We haven't heard notice of that. I was warned in Boston by the executive director of the FTA that we would in fact lose a grant for about $450,000. We haven't officially received word that grant has been taken away, but we also haven't had any movement on it actually being processed either. So it tends to be a stalemate. It's also a cost article from the Marin Independent Journal about their experience with electric bus transition. This is something that I put in the board packet because we did have some discussions in the strategic plan about that. And then lastly, there's an article about the safety of public transit, why it is the safest form of surface transportation, safer than driving your car, safer than driving your bike, safer than walking. So in your communities, I know we like to talk a lot about safety and Vision Zero and safe routes to school. If you're not incorporating transit into those plans, you're not incorporating the safest means available. So that concludes my review of our performance over the last month and some things of interest for this committee. Thank you.
Very good. Any questions? Yes.
I have a comment.
All right.
Mr. Sidorik, I just wanted to give you the information. Chief Carlos Acosta put a police commander in each district. I call them districts, they call them, I don't know what they were, beats or something like that.
Mhm.
But when there's issues in the Alsa area, they can call Commander Gabe Gonzalez now directly.
Okay.
And please, he's pretty good, but so that way, when there's issues around safety or traffic, he deals directly with these issues in the Alsa area.
Okay. If you can, when we take a break, get that number for Chief Gonzalez or just
Commander.
whatever. What is his rank?
Commander.
Please make sure you call him Commander.
Commander. I know Ed, I think, was a commander and likes to be called Commander.
Yeah.
So if we can get that direct number to Norm, then
Great.
we'll get that to our communications center. We appreciate that.
Yes,
I would like to know, you've brought up a couple of times since school has started, what was been our experience with El Sosal
yeah,
Middle School, and virtually no issues. We've had a couple of issues, but the police have been out ticketing people who've been parking illegally, and that seems to have taken care of the problem.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
good.
So that information was a little dated, but I want to make sure that's still the case.
That's still the case.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I get a report every single day.
good.
There, so started off a little, tough and then way better, much better.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great. Anybody else? Have any questions or comments? No? Okay. Let's move on then. Item number 4.2, receive cyber security presentation. And that's Michael.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. Michael Coleman, Chief Information Officer of Monterey Salinas Transit. So hopefully everybody's doing pretty well today. It is October, and actually in a tradition of Octobers for the last 11 years, October has been designated as Cybersecurity Month by the federal government. With that in mind, just as we did in October last year, Carl asked me to do an update on cybersecurity status at our agency and where we're at and what we've done in the last year. As you can see in the first slide, we'll go over this part really quick because, I will try to stick to my time. We do have a disclosure notice. There is actually pursuant to the California Public Records Act. There are some restrictions in cybersecurity discussions. It's one of the few things from a public records standpoint where, as a chief information officer and a chief security officer, there is information that I don't have to disclose publicly. And the reason for that is because sometimes disclosing that information would give the bad guys an opportunity to exploit us. So going through the presentation, some of this is going to be very high level in nature. Some of it may be a little bit vague on purpose. However, if the board, the performance board, or the larger board ever wants to have a deeper dive into cybersecurity and get into more of the details of what we're doing to defend our agency and improve our cybersecurity awareness, we can cover that in executive session. So, moving on, and we'll give the real highlights. What has changed from a cybersecurity standpoint since the last year? And there actually has been a lot of change in the last 12 months.
Do you need a new slide?
All right, next slide, please. Apologies, I hit mine and then soon.
You're seated.
So,
I wasn't sure what he was looking at.
yeah, so Lisa could see that I had moved. So how bad actors are breaking into agency systems is absolutely shifting, probably for the first time in about 5 or 6 years. We're actually seeing a shift in how they're gaining access to systems from things such as malware and phishing and the rest of that to they're actually taking advantage of what I would call our networks and our network connectivity and our borders on our systems, because it's an area which doesn't get a lot of attention even from IT, and it doesn't get patched promptly. That's giving them penetration into the systems, and once they get internally into our systems, boy, they have a field day. With that, as you can see from the slide here, they're almost tied now at this point. 1 out of 5 roughly hacks are now occurring from somebody taking advantage of an unpatched network versus taking advantage of a username or a password that's been disclosed. It's slightly higher at 22. The other one, which has shifted quite a bit, is that incidents where a trusted outsourced vendor, a company that we work with technologically, another third-party company that we do business with, they were actually the source of the breach, and they gained information that allowed them to then get into their customer systems, has doubled in the last year. It's gone from 15 to 30. And to be totally honest, in the last 12 to 18 months, I've actually seen evidence of that from us as an agency as well. It hasn't impacted us, but we've absolutely seen a rise in vendor disclosures that they've been hacked. AI. There's a lot of good and a bad that is coming with AI at this point. The good is it's certainly improving productivity, is certainly gaining agency information and the rest of that. It's also absolutely being used to exploit vulnerabilities in systems. One of the more notable ones that I think occurred in the last year, I think got everybody's attention in cybersecurity, was somebody actually went to an AI for a software development company and asked for the usernames and passwords for the network, and the AI cheerfully handed them all over. And then they were into the system. It's nebulous exactly how much that increase is going on because it's not really measurable at this point, but virtually everybody is noticing that there is more exploits going on in that area. New one, which is coming on board, and kind of probably unsurprising given the shift in the world and our changing landscape with Washington, D.C., is we're actually seeing an increase in evidence where there are break-ins to agencies where the goal is not actually to engage in ransomware or lock up the system or cause a problem, but espionage, where they're actually breaking into the system to gain data, where they're actually exporting that data out to the systems, and later on they publicly share that information to cause lots of fear, uncertainty, or doubt, and create strain on the public. With all of that, ransomware is still number one. The vast majority of compromises are somebody breaks into the system versus any one of those methods that we're talking about up here. They're planting something on our internal system, and when they decide to pull the trigger, they're encrypting all the data internally and they're asking for money. With that said, a notable change, and I think one that I recommended last year for us as an agency, is there has been a shift. Most agencies now, just about 2/3, 64%, are now saying no to ransomware and exploit is occurring. So they're not paying the money out. They're deciding to absorb the pain of trying to do restoration and repair their systems. And they're telling the bad actors that we're just not going to hand the cash over anymore. So another thing which has changed in the last year is that, and this one is concerning, is support. I'm sorry, next slide. Are we there? Yeah. So we are seeing support both in financial assistance at the federal level and even to some extent at the state level has declined a lot. In some cases, completely eliminated. Probably one of the most notable ones is at the federal government level. In March 19th of this year, an executive order was actually issued that cybersecurity responsibilities would be returned from the federal government to state and local agencies. That's had a lot of repercussions. Probably the biggest one is that the master cybersecurity agency that's been in place for roughly the last 10 years, which is CISA, it stands for Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Agency, eliminated half of its staff in May. And actually, I didn't have time to update the slide. My understanding is another 25% of their staff were cut this weekend. So at this point, they're only about 20% of the size that they were. That actually, again, has translated into direct results that I'm seeing as an agent and an agency is we're just not getting information from them anymore. We're not seeing reports, we're not seeing updates, we're not seeing warnings. In addition, there was a lot of money that was being dispersed by CISA out to supporting agencies. That money has been eliminated. Probably one of the most notable ones is there was a major agency that is called ISAC, which is the Information Sharing and Analysis Center. They've also been around for about 10 years. They were supporting most of the state and local agencies in the United States. All of their funding was eliminated as of this month. So they no longer get any federal funding. As a consequence of that, the election sharing component of their agency is gone. It no longer exists. The K through 12 portion of their group is gone. It no longer exists. The group has consolidated into one overarching agency that's trying to support everybody. But at this point, since they're no longer getting federal government money, they are actually demanding payment from local agencies. MST has paid into that system. I believe in it and I support it. With that said, I think like a lot of agencies, I'm going to be carefully watching them over the next 12 months to see if they can maintain the level of support and information that they're operating under a much more limited budget. Next slide, please. Let's see if I can get to the next slide. There. So those are the challenges in the landscape. With that, we've actually done a lot in the last year to enhance our defenses. Probably one of the biggest ones that I talked about when I was here last year, and it's now completed, is that everybody in our agency now uses multi-factor authentication. Simply going to multi-factor or two forms of ways of identifying yourself instead of just putting in a username and password has been identified as probably one of the single best ways to protect your agency. We're actually taking it a step further. So roughly over the last 9 months or so, we've actually been moving key staff, including myself, pretty much all of ELT, other members, to where the password is gone altogether. So Carl, myself, everybody, we actually don't know what our key password on our system is anymore. It's called passwordless, but the reality is what it is the password's like 300 digits long. It's rotated monthly. We never see it. It's on the back end on the system. Instead, we're using basically a PIN code or a key code to get into our hardware and our computers that have already been registered to us. And we actually use a small token device. Let's see if I can pull it out real quick. Looks like this if we need to gain access to our systems externally. If we don't know the password and we don't know the credentials to get into the system, the bad guys don't know the password and they don't know they can get into the system. That really takes things up another step. Other things that we have been working on in the last year that's really been gradual and what I would call housekeeping. There's a term in information technology. It's called shadow IT. It's been around probably for my entire career. All the shadow IT really refers to is those are applications, devices, phones, the rest of it that IT actually doesn't know about or doesn't have direct control. Somebody brings a phone into the building to use it for the day. They see a great app on the web that they want to use. They bring it up on their computer, they log in and create an account, and we really don't have visibility into what's going on in that application. One of the things we've been working on in the last year, and one of the things that we will be continuing to work on over the next year, is that we are tightening down our systems in those areas. We're beginning to identify those shadow IT applications. And in some cases, we're having increased discussions with our staff and that about whether or not it's appropriate to use that item in our organization. If it is appropriate, IT will basically take on the reins of that and we will deploy it as a IT product. We will deploy it as something we support in our agency and we'll make sure it's secure. If we decide that it doesn't have a value or the value is not enough to add to the cost of our agency, we're actually going to ask people to stop using it, please. The other one that we've been doing, which is actually, we'll see in some upcoming slides, is we are now deploying internal monitoring tools on our system. So we're no longer at the point where we're basically judging my opinion of where we are in the system or where my system administrator's opinions are in the system. We are doing monthly analysis on the system. We are using software and devices that are capable of doing this and reviewing it. With that, we're also in a long-term goal to move a bit more to cloud, to shift our systems out there into that area to provide services for our staff that reduce the need for our staff basically to connect into our systems internally if they happen to be out of the building. One of the things I mentioned in the earlier slide is that there's been a big jump in network compromises. One of the reasons that there has been a big jump in compromises is a lot of organizations still allow staff and people to tunnel in to the system internally, and that's a weakness. We're moving that to where somebody wants to use Office, they want to use files, they want to use documents on our system. They're connecting to a cloud-based system on the internet that we manage, but it isn't really here internally in the building, which means they don't have to drill into our network and they don't have to increase that risk. Next slide, please. So with that, this is actually one of the more interesting results, and it was one of the ones that Carl specifically asked that I talk about, is we have been doing monthly scoring on our system. And one of the monthly scoring software packages that we're using at this point is capable of analyzing our internal posture, our patches, our networks, our systems, how our things are secured and locked down. And it not only gives us a score, but it actually gives us a comparative score against other agencies that are roughly our size and have similar makeups. And as you can see from this score, the October 3rd or the beginning of this month's score was 81.49 out of 100. That's a really high score. I'm actually very proud of where we're at. We're pushing to 90, and I think we're on a path that's going to get us there. To be fair, the way these systems are set up, getting from 90 to 100 would be really challenging. Not saying we can't do it, but it would involve some big changes. The nice thing is, if you compare that against agencies our size, most agencies our size and our makeup and our staffing actually score around 43. So, as I think I was telling you earlier, I always hesitate to say that, we have a high level of invulnerability because I never want to be in a position where I'm giving people unrealistic expectations and saying that we're not going to get hacked. What I will say is that I think the reason that we haven't been hacked is that score right there. Next slide, please. And with that, our training is continuing along. So we did move to a new cyber training system last year. I think I let everybody know that in October. We're just about exactly 12 months into the data and the metrics on that system, and it's actually providing us some good data now. As you can see, our cyber training compliance is at 91.2%. So that means when we send out a cyber training and when we do cyber training with our staff, we're doing better than 90% of them are basically taking it on a regular basis. I don't have to push them. I don't have to harass them. I don't have to get to do it. They're actually taking and doing it. And consequently, one of the things that has occurred is not quite 12 months in, about 10 months now, we've actually been able to measure data and characteristics on staff and their reporting these and turning these things in and contacting IT and looking at it and basically being aware. And we really have seen a significant drop in behavioral risk in our systems internally. It is a fairly arbitrary score, but you can see it was probably around 50 when we first started this process. And now as we're getting into October, it's dropped down to around 13. So again, and I see it every day in our staff reactions. You know, our staff for the most part are actually very active. They do reach out to IT if they see something suspicious. The good news, a lot of times when they see something suspicious, it isn't. But I'm delighted that I see that level of paranoia as somebody who's in charge of information security. Because I will say there actually have been a handful of situations where I've actually had to say, whoa, stop a minute. This one we need to dig into, we need to look into further. And we probably prevented a compromise based on that. Next slide, please. So that brings us to our summary. And I think I'm pretty close to 10 minutes.
Painful.
So in summary, Monterey Salinas Transit maintains a significantly better cybersecurity posture than it did 12 months ago. I've seen real strides. I'll tell you, I sleep a lot better at night. With that, as I said before, there is no finish line in this. The reality is one of the challenges I think everybody has in a cybersecurity position, and it doesn't matter who you are, is you're actually playing a game where ultimately at some point you're probably going to lose. And because of that, we will be, as we're at the point where I actually think we have a pretty good cybersecurity posture at this point. Our baseline posture is very strong. Our staff is very well trained. We're actually going to be spending our next 12 to 24 months, our next year or two, really looking at the things that allow us to improve our resiliency in case we're actually compromised. So a lot of the focus is going to be things on how are we retaining our data, how are we backing things up, how fast can we come back from an impact, and how fast can I return? Because I do want to be in a position for the board and for the executive leadership that if and when that moment occurs where we get compromised, instead of telling somebody in a ransomware that I got to hand you $2 or $3 million, and that actually happened with a transit agency here over the summer. They lost access to their systems for 6 weeks, and the company, the bad actors asked for 3.3 million to get off the hook. I want to be able to position basically to tell them in no uncertain terms that the answer is no, and that while we may have a pain point for a week or so, we can get this agency back to where it was going and where it needs to be. And we would be able to operate it at a lower level of technology during that week safely for our passengers and our customers. Next, just as a summary of where the threat is, the threat landscape is definitely shifting. It actually had been pretty steady and not a lot of changes in the last 5 years, but we're beginning to see movement again. AI is causing that shift. Collateral damage incidents are definitely causing that shift where third-party vendors are being compromised and the data that they're holding for our agency is being given up, and we don't really have a vote in that situation. That's something it's gonna be tough to manage, but we're gonna have to watch out for and be cognizant of. The federal support network from a money and information standpoint is probably going to continue to decline. I'd like to think that was different. I'm not really feeling warm and fuzzy about that. That means that as for us as an agency, our direct costs probably to maintain an adequate cybersecurity posture are going to go up. Because those costs that were shared to me from another government agency level that trickled down to us from an agency, I'm going to have to find a way to cover those gaps. I don't think it's going to be significant increases. The buying into the ISAC network, actually, since it's being divided up between 2,500 agencies, was pretty reasonable. But these are things that I'm going to have to add to my budget. I don't really have a choice. And that is the last slide. Questions, please.
Thank you. I wish I felt calm about it all. but-
I wish I did too.
I know, I think we all feel that way, even based on our personal information at home. I don't really have any questions. Maybe the comment would be recommendations. How do you? I mean, I've been given all the information of how do you figure out if something looks so real and then and you know that it really isn't? Do they just put a number after it on the website or?
You're right. It's an interesting situation because there's absolutely an element of what you would call. Let me back up on that one for a minute. I think the thing you still run into today, which is very true in cybersecurity, is that the human element is still a very strong piece of this. So the judgment call that's made by an individual sitting at the desk, all the way to a judgment call like from myself and my staff and the rest of that, there's a lot of expertise that goes into that, and there's a lot of gut, for want of a better word. And I haven't really seen that shift too much. There are scoring systems out there. Like I said, we can use tools and utilities to help us. But at the end of the day, in many ways, we're using those as guides to reinforce whether or not we're going in the right direction or that. Just ones that I can think of in the last couple of weeks where, say, somebody actually sent something to our help desk and said, this particular email just doesn't feel right. Can IT check it? Um, you're right. That's a gut call. I'm being in the role that I'm in, and being in the position that I have, I will understandably lean towards paranoia in this case. Like I said, I'm delighted actually for what it's worth. I don't consider it an inconvenience when a staff member asks me to investigate something. Even if, say, 8 times out of 10, it's not a big deal. It's more a marketing problem and less a cybersecurity problem. Because, the flip side of that is 2 times out of 10, we're actually digging into things. Uh, uh, Again, keeping it high level here for the agency, we did actually have a mild incident in the last week. It wasn't terribly concerning, but it's indicative of the things that we run into every day, where we did have a vendor share confidential information from another agency with us. And it was an accident. There was an investigation. I was okay with the results of the investigation as long as the vendor doesn't do it again. But that was one where that actually kind of bubbled up to what I would call that judgment call level, because it kind of came in and it was sent to quite a few people in this organization. And you looked at it on the surface, and I think in a lot of places they probably would have said, oh, mistake information, I'll delete this and I'll move on. So not a risk to MST, but it was a risk to the other agency. And I wanted to make sure that I was being a good partner by letting people know this occurred, because it could occur to us at some point, and I would want somebody to step out. But it is very
Ongoing.
fuzzy.
Yeah, for sure. Anyone else? Thank you, Michael.
I was gonna. Wait, Tony, you, okay, I was gonna mention, the phone, maybe it's just my phone.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's just my phone.
I
And
don't know about that, but go ahead.
my cell phone, I get stuff from a certain credit card or, it's a constant, it's almost 2 or 3 times a day. I'm sure it's just my phone.
No,
No.
I'm getting voicemails, I think probably about 5 or 6 a week right now, and I have no idea how they latched on to me, and where I'm being offered lots of money if I would just simply contact them and complete the loan application.
Or they've already talked to you.
Or they've already talked to me. Yeah, we already had that conversation. We just need you to sign it.
Exactly.
And that's actually a good thing to bring up, because what you're seeing is you're seeing multiple, again, the IT geeky term would be vectors, but you're seeing multiple ways that people are now attacking. They're no longer sending this as an email, or they're no longer doing this, as a text message. Now they're using all of it.
Yeah.
They're sending an email and they're following it up with the text, and they're leaving you a voicemail. And they're hoping between all of those, they build this convincing world that they're legitimate, when in many ways they're not.
Well, and it's tough when you have people that are older and they don't know, and they answer the phone
Yep.
and they say yes, and they're not supposed to. That's a big deal with my family right now, trying to.
It
convince people
is,
yeah.
and again, the sad part is it's a law of averages.
Yeah.
I have to be successful 100 times out of 100. The hacker only has to be successful 1 out of 100.
Yeah. All right, yes, sir.
Mr. Mike, as you say, the landscape is shifting.
Very much.
I'm
Yeah.
just curious, like you said on the federal government, when you lose staff,
Yeah.
you fire them or you lay
Yeah.
them off, and even on the local, as it shifts, I mean, these people, whoever got laid off or let go for whatever reason, they got all this information.
They do.
So how?
I know where you're headed with
Man,
this.
You know what I feel like I'm in a university classroom. You know, I've never been in one, but I wish I was. But your knowledge, but like your staff, how big is your staff here at MST?
Right now, at this point, the staff I have is 7. Now focused on cybersecurity, where that's a big chunk of their primary role. There are 4 of us, and of that 4, again, getting geeky, putting an FTE on or a full-time equivalency on it, we're probably dedicating 1.5 full-time equivalencies of our staff strictly on cybersecurity and monitoring and keeping things maintained. That's actually up from probably closer to 0, 4 years ago when I got here. So credit to Carl and EOT and everybody else. We've actually hired the people, we've put them in place to make that happen. It's a differentiator. I will not lie. I have strong opinions about this and I won't deny it. It is possible to go out to third-party vendors and sort of get this little solution that they drop in on your network and they make everything work. And I'm going to be very emphatic, that's absolutely better than nothing. If you can't afford the staff, if you can't put the staff in, please go to somebody who's providing services. I don't do nothing. With that said, again, you come back to the human element. Nothing beats a collection of human beings with expertise here in the building that can answer questions when they come up and jump on something when they see it.
Okay, we need to move
Yep.
on because we have our 4.3 item, which is
Yep.
gonna take a little bit of time.
Thank you, Mr.
So-
Dore, for being a.
Yeah,
Board
thank you,
member.
Michael.
You're very
Really
welcome.
Appreciate it.
And-
We could probably sit here all day.
Yeah, and again, as I said, I'll put it out there. If there was a decision for deeper dives on any of this, we could schedule an executive
God
session.
doesn't want us to go into deep
No.
dive.
Well,
Quick question,
Yeah.
can the presentation be shared with us?
Yes, that
Yes, okay,
presentation is
thank you.
publicly
Yeah.
shareable.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, moving on. Thank you so much, Mike. We could all be here all day talking about it. I mean, really.
Well,
Okay,
and
our
10
next
minutes.
item is receive project updates on SURF, and this is Lisa.
Yes, thank you. Lisa Reinheimer, Deputy CEO for MST. Thank you for allowing me a few moments to report on the SURF project. This presentation is a requirement of the SB 922 exemption that this board, actually that the full board took for the SURF project, which requires that MST conduct a public meeting that's publicly noticed at least 2 times during construction, and we are now currently in construction on the SURF project. Next slide, please. So the overall elements of the SURF project you mostly already know, but it is a 5-mile new bus rapid transit line next to Highway 1 to bypass heavy traffic congestion both in the morning and on weekends and during accidents when the highway gets all messed up with traffic congestion. And MST buses can bypass that to get our passengers to their destinations on time reliably. There are 1 mile of new multi-use bicycle trails included in the project, as well as a multimodal hub in the former Fort Ord. It includes a pickup drop-off area, public parking, electric vehicle charging, a bicycle repair station, all in the former Fort Ord area around the Dunes development. It's going to be amazing. So again, faster, more frequent, more reliable transit service for our riders, not just between the terminus of the project itself, but the line 20, which goes between Salinas, Marina, Sand City, Seaside, downtown Monterey, and back. That's where the service is going to be. People often get confused out there that it's just between Marina and Sand City and the buses just go back and forth. That's not what it is. Salinas to Monterey and back. Next slide. So what you'll see here are some construction photos. On the left, you'll see the sidewalk getting placed. On Palm Avenue, there was no sidewalk before, so the project included that sidewalk. And in the after condition, we'll have another sidewalk on the south side of there. On the right side, you can see we have a lane closed going southbound on Del Monte Boulevard, which is causing congestion within the city of Marina. And it's particularly difficult to get through there, 5 to 10 minutes of delay in the morning commute, especially when school is in session. So we know that this is a challenge for commuters, and we even went to the City of Marina City Council to talk about the localized traffic congestion here. But we do plan on getting this back up in 2 lanes as quickly as we can. But right now, the road is all busted up, the sidewalk is all busted up, so we're really doing work. Next slide, please. More photos. So the bike lane and pathway along Del Monte Boulevard is also closed. We don't want to have the public in active construction zone, obviously for safety purposes. So we are having people detour between Rhine and Palm, which is about maybe 1,000, 1,200 feet. And then on the right side, you can see the crew from Industrial Rail. It's a subcontractor to Granite Rock Myers taking out the railroad tracks. So what they'll do is they'll use this heavy equipment, pull up the railroad tracks, and then they have all these guys there with sledgehammers to knock off the spikes. And then they'll also pull out the ties. Those are the creosote treated wood ties that the tracks are spiked to, as it were. So 75% of those ties are being recycled to landscape supply companies. 25% are going to the local landfill regen under permit. Under requirements under the DTSC, Department of Toxic Substances Control. So yeah, a lot of work is happening. They're able to do about 700 feet a day or so of the railroad track removal, and then the contractor will come back and get the ballast, the rock ballast, and reuse it for the bed of the busway. Next slide. And then here looking southbound, this is all Marina because this is where the majority of construction is happening at the moment. Here looking south towards the highway, a fence was removed. So it makes it a little bit easier for pedestrians to use the access road on the right-hand side to get up to Beach Range Road, which is the much more popular bike trail and pedestrian trail. Next slide. So we've had communications going out to the public on our website. We have an email blast that goes out. Yeah, I'm assuming you all are on that email blast. 187 stakeholders, community leaders, et cetera. Social media, we have about 4,300 followers. We send it through the TMC Cone Zone report, which also has possibly repeat of the 187, but there are 130 on that distribution list. We have on the ground changeable message signs. And there we go. We did an in-person canvas of that's weird. At any rate, we've done an in-person canvassing of the area of Del Monte where we're doing the construction work. So we wanted to make sure that we put a flyer on people's doorsteps or at businesses. Google Maps has been updated to show that lane closure. It says construction in there. And then we plan on doing some event opportunities in Marina, Sand City, and others. Tomorrow night is a firehouse open house. So we'll try to get there and pass out some information as well. Next slide. So we'll also provide the public with alternate routes as they can try to get around the traffic congestion and the closed bicycle trails, temporarily closed. We'll have, on the ground detour signs, well, QR codes on that. We've updated our changeable message sign on Del Monte going southbound. This says expect 5 to 10 minutes of delay. And if they have 1 minute, how happy are they going to be that it wasn't 5 to 10? So then we'll also share on social media, of course, but if you all can share that to your social networks, especially in the areas where there's construction that impacts the public, that would be really helpful. Next slide. So through late November, we will continue to have the lane closure on Del Monte Boulevard. We're working on closing a small 100-foot, 200-foot gap in the trail. It's currently dirt. We're going to put a proper bike lane in there to connect into Beach Range Road. We will have to continue the recreational trail detour between Rhine-Dollar and Palm. We'll hopefully reopen that 1-lane closure by the end of November. Again, we'll continue to remove railroad tracks and ties going southbound. And I mentioned earlier on, we're going to be putting in a sidewalk on the south side of Palm between Del Monte and Marina Drive. And then we are going to close the trail under Highway 1 near the 5th Street station. The north-south direction of the Caltrans Rec Trail will always remain open. We'll have flaggers there during the week so that, in an active construction zone, people are safe. We were going to do it today. This just in, it's happening tomorrow for that trail closure, and we'll put up signage to help direct people around. Next slide. And then in the Palm and Del Monte area through the spring, we'll do all these other things. We have maybe one lane closure. Again, we're correcting a crosswalk between at Rhine-Dollar and Del Monte. There's currently a curb or a median that's right in the middle of the crosswalk. So we're going to correct that for ADA purposes. We'll continue all of the work within the Palm and Del Monte area, including the busway, including the station area, including planting. We're actually planting 50+ trees in the area. So by spring of next year, the place is going to look amazing. Right now, it looks like a construction zone, and that's always difficult for people to see. But it will get better, and it's going to look great. So it'll be back up and running, hopefully by the end of spring of 2026, barring any, I should have said this at the beginning, construction is always a mess. And there are always going to be things that come up, rain, there are unforeseen circumstances. So I'm giving you the schedule as it stands today, and it may change based on any number of different things. Rain, for example, is a excusable delay for the contractor. Next slide.
Excusable delay, I like it.
So you get an acceptable, you get an excuse to, your tardy slip at school. You have, there are excuses that are acceptable and then that are not. Contractor has the same thing. So people can contact us at the phone number on the screen or surfinfo@mst.org. We'll try to get back to people within 24 hours business day at surfinfo or by phone. We check it all the time. So far, we've had half a dozen or so questions or concerns brought up from the public, and we're able to get back to them as quickly as within a day. Next slide. And that's it.
Very good.
I'm happy to answer any questions, but again, this is an opportunity for the public to ask questions due to the CEQA exemption that the board took for the project.
What's going on in Marina? All right, do we have any questions from the committee at this time? Yes.
Yes, and thank you very much for the presentation, Lisa, and for the whole project. So I already spoke with Lisa for the bicycle closures, bicycle pathway closures in Marina. For those who are not aware, there are 2 north-south bicycle pathways. One is closest to Highway 1. We call it the Rec Trail in Marina. That will stay open. The other one is closed due to a construction of a campground by the state's parks. So this is so the other one is not available to get from Marina to Sand City. The one that is closest to the highway, the rec trail, there's one access for South Marina to get on and off that trail. That needs to be closed. So I have requested to make sure that there is signage in place before it gets closed. It was supposed to close today, and I hope it can be postponed, even if it's just a few days, because I know people will be coming there without knowing, and they will have to go to probably CSUMB for students or work. And now they have to the detour is about 2.6 miles, which takes you about 20 minutes, depending on how fast you bike. So if you don't know, you can miss your appointments. This is very important to give it as much notice as possible. And this affects the whole area that will be serviced by that new 5th Street station, which is a large area. It's just a perfect storm that the state park's construction is happening at the same time. And Lisa, I do have one question. I noticed on one of your slides, it said, close the trail connection under Highway 1. What does that mean? Because that's the only connection that people have to ride to the north to connect and then go south. Will that be closed?
Yes, it will be relocated essentially, and maybe not the best of word usage. So once the connection between Rheindaler and Marina Drive is made, there's going to be a crosswalk there. The other one under the highway will be discontinued, and people will go to the new one at Rheindaler. But the one that's there right now will remain open until the new one opens at Rheindaler.
So that will mean a longer detour
About, what did we say?
from the current
500 to 1,000 feet or so?
times 2.
Yeah.
Okay. I just want people to realize, I want us to post maps that show the connections from 8th Street all the way. Because I forgot to say the map that was shared by email. The connection for the bicyclists is blocked by a text box for the cars. So anyway, I'll send it to you.
Okay.
Yeah, I forgot to show that this morning. So
yeah.
Anyway, the main thing is for bicyclists is in South Marina to or from South Marina. This will affect them for the duration of the project, and it's
That's a problem.
it takes longer to bike a detour than to take your car.
Well,
But yeah, I understand completely. It's just that we need to have signage on the location.
She just wants people to be informed.
Yes, even if you're in Sand City, you need to know if I want to go to South Marina, it takes me an extra 20 minutes or.
Yeah,
Right,
I mean,
so-
people know that this project is
Yeah.
here. I mean, it's just a matter of making sure they understand
Yes.
where the detours are gonna be and
Yes.
everything. No, I understand.
Right. So when we were thinking about the detour for the rec trail, the Caltrans one, we were relying originally on Beach Range Road, the one on the west side, to be open while our project was under construction. And then the state parks campground project came in slightly before ours, so we had to readjust our plans, but we're not able to accommodate that crossing underneath the highway at 5th Street Station because we wanted to ensure the safety of the cyclists and pedestrians not being in an active construction zone. So we kept the north-south connection of the Caltrans rec trail, but we'll have flaggers there to make sure that they can go in that north-south direction. It's not ideal, but again, it is construction, and we'll see what we can do to reopen that trail as soon as we can for the, the area of the dunes.
Thank you so much for the presentation. Anybody else? Because we can do this at the next part.
We have to allow public comment. That's
Yeah,
the whole purpose.
Yes, I'm now opening this up for questions from the public. Yes, please.
About the bike path out there. This is what I've been doing the whole time is I've been going, let's say if I'm going from Seaside and I need to get back to Marina where all these like dots are. I usually go from here going from through usually I go through like you know how to get to General Moore? That's usually what I've been doing, because out here, any time at night is beyond scary. The reason why I go through here, there's street lights. So I was thinking maybe with the new construction, with the new bike trails are out there, can we add street lights for the surf bus for the
bicyclists.
bicyclists? Because three things what it does makes it safer. And then you can actually get through there without any of these people. Like, you know, I'm going to be very lightly like kind of get a little unfiltered right now, because guess what happened the other night when I was trying to get through here? Some guy tried to jump me from that area where those unhoused people are. So yeah, put streetlights out there. That'd be really nice. Or bike streetlights out there in new construction. If anyone hasn't even thought about that yet,
Okay,
streetlights, would that work?
I can't answer that. We have to wait and have a discussion about it. But
Okay.
we can, perhaps you can leave your information and we can get back to you. Our staff-
We have his information
Okay,
and we have the
perfect.
information that's being recorded. So.
Okay.
Oh, and sorry, I used the wrong word. Nearly got jumped.
Okay.
Sorry, because you know, big giant guy right here can easily knock anyone out, you know?
Thank you for your.
Sorry.
Gosh, it's-
I am able to answer that question if you'd like. There is one street light underneath the Fifth Street Station area that's allowable by the Coastal Commission. Otherwise, there are no street lights that are allowed within the coastal zone along the majority of the area. There are some additional streetlights outside of the California coastal original jurisdiction zone within the more urbanized areas within Marina and within Sand City. But what he's talking about, we're essentially not allowed to put that much lighting in there for environmentally sensitive habitat reasons.
Thank you, Lisa. Okay, anyone else from the public have a comment that they'd like to make in chambers? Seeing none
The anyone online.
and no one online. All right, then we're gonna close the public comment. And we need to move on to closing unless somebody has something really important to discuss at this point. Okay, I'd like to adjourn at this time at 9:57. Thank you.